The conference hall went silent. Dead silent. Ambassador Vexithara of the Kralix Empire stood frozen, her 6 eyes locked onto the small creature sitting on the presentation platform. It was tiny, fluffy. It was licking its own paw. "That's your apex predator." Vexithara's translator struggled with her tone. Confusion, amusement, insult. The human representative, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, smiled. "This is Whiskers. She's a standard domestic shorthair, 8 pounds, 3 years old." The Kralix ambassador's scales rippled with barely contained laughter. "You brought a pet to the Apex Convergence." Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 species shifted uncomfortably. Some had brought holographic projections of their apex predators. Others had genetic samples under stasis fields. The Theron delegation had even brought a sedated specimen of their moon bear, a creature that stood 12 feet tall and could crush starship hull plating. Nobody had brought an actual pet. The human smiled wider. "We brought what was requested, our homeworld's apex predator." "That?" The Kralix pointed one clawed appendage at Whiskers. The cat had lost interest in its paw. Now it was watching a floating dust particle with intense focus. "That," Elena confirmed. Commander Zultak of the Gordani Collective rumbled forward. His species evolved from pack hunters on a heavy gravity world. Each Gordani stood 9 feet tall, all muscle and armored hide. "Human, we may not share your sense of humor, but this gathering is sacred. Every species here has brought their most dangerous predator, the creature that dominated their evolutionary chain, the beast that made them strong." Elena's expression didn't change. "So have we." "This is a feline," Zultak growled. "My databanks indicate these creatures are companion animals in human society. They are kept for emotional comfort. They are fed from bowls." "All true," Elena said. Whiskers yawned. Needle-sharp teeth flashed for just a moment. Nobody noticed except Elena. "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Yill of the Centauri Accord, "there has been a translation error. Human languages are notoriously imprecise. Maybe your people misunderstood the summit's purpose." "No misunderstanding," Elena replied. "The summit requested each species present their homeworld's apex predator, the most successful hunter, the most efficient killer, the animal that reached the top of the food chain through superior predation." She gestured to Whiskers. The cat had found the dust particle boring. Now it was staring at the Theron delegation with unblinking yellow eyes. "On Earth," Elena continued, "this species has a hunting success rate of 32%. That's higher than lions, higher than wolves, higher than sharks. In human population centers, they account for billions of prey animals killed annually." "Billions?" Vexithara's laugh was sharp. "Of what? Insects? Birds? Rodents? Reptiles? Amphibians? Fish? Small mammals?" Elena pulled up a holographic display. "Earth's ecology registers them as a category, one invasive species. We've documented over 63 vertebrate extinctions directly caused by feline predation." The laughter had stopped. The numbers hung in the air like an accusation. Whiskers began grooming her paw again, completely indifferent to the room full of galactic representatives staring at her. "How?" Zultak finally asked. "How is this possible?" Elena's smile faded. "Because you're all asking the wrong question. You're asking what makes a successful predator. You should be asking what makes a successful survivor." The holographic display shifted. New data began to flow, and in that moment, 47 species realized they'd made a terrible miscalculation about humanity. The Apex Convergence happened once every 50 cycles. It was tradition, sacred even. Every species that reached the stars carried the legacy of their homeworld. The predators that shaped them, the hunters that made them clever, the beasts that taught them to build walls, forge weapons, and reach for the sky. The Kralix evolved alongside the shadow stalkers. six-legged ambush hunters that could camouflage perfectly. They taught the Kraliks to see in spectrums beyond visible light. The Gordani survived the territorial wars with the spine wolves, pack hunters with electromagnetic senses. They taught the Gordani to coordinate and communicate across vast distances. The Therons built their first cities to escape the moon bears, 50,000-pound omnivores with problem-solving intelligence. They taught the Therons architecture and engineering. Every species had their trial by fire. Every species had the beast that made them strong. The Convergence was where they shared these stories, where they compared evolutionary pressures, where they understood each other not through diplomacy or trade, but through the universal experience of being prey that became predator. Humans had been invited to the Convergence for the first time. They were the newest spacefaring species, barely 2 centuries since their first lunar landing. Crude fusion drives, no FTL capability until they'd stumbled upon the Centauri. Young, inexperienced, promising but untested. The galaxy was curious about them. What made humans human? What shaped them? What was their trial? Earth's databanks were strange. The planet was a nightmare world by galactic standards. 97% of its surface was habitable. Weather patterns ranged from frozen poles to superheated equators. The gravity was punishing, 10 meters per second squared. The atmospheric oxygen content was 21%. That was combustion territory. Earth was literally flammable. And the predators? By the gods, the predators. Bears, tigers, crocodiles, sharks, eagles, wolves, snakes, spiders. Hundreds of species that could kill an unprotected human in seconds. The galaxy expected something terrifying. The betting pools had favored either ursines or the large felines. Some thought humans would bring one of their ocean predators, the things with teeth the size of forearms. Nobody expected the housecat. Elena watched the room process this. 47 species, each one trying to reconcile what they'd expected with what they saw. Whiskers had finished grooming. Now she was making a chirping sound at a Vexillian delegate whose bioluminescent patterns were flashing nervously. Perhaps, Vexithara said carefully, you could explain the selection process. How did your people determine this was the appropriate specimen? Simple, Elena replied. We asked our xenobiologists to identify Earth's most successful predator, the one that killed the most prey per capita, the one with the widest range, the one that had most successfully infiltrated human society. She paused. The one we couldn't get rid of even if we tried. The Centauri delegate, Yeel, made a whistling sound that translated as concern. Are you suggesting this creature is invasive to human settlements? Not invasive, Elena corrected. Domesticated. There's a difference. What difference? Elena's expression went distant for a moment. An invasive species competes with you. A domesticated species convinces you to help it thrive. We invited them into our homes. We fed them. We built entire economic systems around their care. We made them family. Zultak rumbled thoughtfully. And they killed 63 species. While we fed them, Elena confirmed. Whiskers chose that moment to stretch. Her tiny body extended to nearly twice its resting length, each vertebra articulated independently. Her claws extended, curved, retractable, sharp as surgical blades. Then she curled back into a loaf shape and began purring. The sound was mechanical, rhythmic, almost like a weapon charging. Show us the data. Ambassador Vexithara wasn't laughing anymore. Elena expanded the holographic display. Earth's feline population, approximately 600 million domestic cats. Feral population, another 100 million. That's 700 million individual predators. The numbers appeared in glowing columns. Annual predation rate per cat, between 30 and 100 prey animals. Conservative estimate, 21 billion animals killed per year. The chamber erupted. 21 billion! The Theron delegate stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. That's impossible. No ecosystem could sustain that predation rate. Earth's doesn't, Elena said simply. That's why we have 63 documented extinctions. Island ecosystems are particularly vulnerable. Small populations, isolated gene pools. Then we introduce cats, sometimes accidentally, sometimes deliberately. She pulled up images. Birds that no longer existed, rodents that had vanished, reptiles extinct in the wild. But here's what makes it interesting, Elena continued. These extinction events happened despite human intervention. We tried to stop it. Conservation programs, breeding initiatives, habitat protection. None of it mattered. The cats were already there. Zultak leaned forward. You couldn't control them. Control implies ownership, Elena replied. We don't own cats. We coexist with them. They live in our homes, eat our food, sleep in our beds. And sometimes they vanish for 3 days and come back with a dead bird. Whiskers had moved. Nobody had seen her do it. One moment she was on the presentation platform. The next she was exploring the Centauri delegate's briefcase, nose twitching with interest. Yield jerked backward. How did 30 miles per hour sprint speed, Elena said. 55 miles per hour in short bursts for some breeds. Flexible spine that acts like a spring. Claws that deploy in 13 milliseconds. Binocular vision calibrated for motion detection. Ears that rotate independently to triangulate sound sources. The hologram shifted to anatomical displays. Whiskers weighs 8 pounds. She can jump 6 times her body length vertically. She can rotate her ears 180 degrees. She can squeeze through any opening her skull fits through because her clavicle is free-floating. Vexithara studied the data. These are impressive specifications for a pursuit predator. She's not a pursuit predator, Elena corrected. She's an ambush hunter. Stalking, patience, explosive acceleration over short distances. Cats don't chase prey. They eliminate it. Whiskers had discovered the Centauri delegate's lunch container. She batted it experimentally with one paw. The container rolled. She pounced, trapping it between her front legs. 70% of their waking hours are spent hunting or hunting-adjacent behavior, Elena continued. They practice on toys, on shadows, on each other. They're hardwired for predation at a neurological level. It's not hunger, it's drive. But they're domesticated, Zultak protested. You said so yourself. Domesticated, Elena agreed. Not tamed, there's a difference. What difference? Elena gestured to Whiskers. A tamed animal changes to suit us. A domesticated animal makes us change to suit them. We built furniture for cats to climb. We installed doors for them to exit. We created flavors of food specifically for their preferences. 10,000 years of cohabitation, and we're the ones who adapted. The Kralix ambassador's scales rippled with unease. You're saying this creature domesticated you? Elena didn't answer immediately. She didn't need to. Whiskers had returned to the platform. She sat perfectly still, tail wrapped around her paws, staring at nothing. Waiting. Always waiting. Let me show you something else, Elena said quietly. The hologram changed again. This time it showed human dwellings, apartments, houses, shelters, across every continent, every climate, every culture, and in 90% of them, cats. This is Cairo, Elena narrated. Human population, 20 million. Cat population, approximately 2 million. They roam freely, no leashes, no enclosures. They move through human spaces like ghosts. The images cycled. Tokyo, New York, London, Mumbai. Every major human city has a feral cat population. They live in our walls, hunt in our alleys. Some humans feed them, some humans ignore them, but nobody controls them. Vexithara studied the data carefully. Your species allows predators to inhabit your population centers. Unconstrained? We don't allow it, Elena said. It just is. Try to relocate them. Try to contain them. They come back. They adapt. Evolution gave them all the tools they need to survive alongside us. Zultak made a thoughtful rumble. But they're small. Surely they pose no threat to adult humans? Direct threat. Minimal. They're too small to see us as prey. But threat assessment isn't just about physical danger. Elena pulled up medical data. Cats carry Toxoplasma gondii, a parasite. It infects rodents and makes them attracted to cat urine, makes them easier to catch. The Galactic delegates leaned in. Here's the interesting part. Approximately 1/3 of Earth's human population is infected with Toxoplasma. The parasite can only reproduce in feline digestive systems, but it can survive in human brains for decades. Silence. You're telling us, Yill said slowly, that 1/3 of humanity is infected with a parasite that evolved to help cats hunt. Correct. And this is acceptable to your species? Elena shrugged. We didn't know about it until a few decades ago. By then, it had already spread globally. Most infections are asymptomatic. Some studies suggest minor behavioral changes, increased risk-taking, reduced fear response. Nothing conclusive. Whiskers was grooming again. Her pink tongue scraped across grey fur in methodical strokes. Completely innocent, completely unconcerned. Let me make sure I understand, Vexithara said. Humans allow these predators into their homes, into their cities, into their sleeping spaces, despite knowing they carry parasites, despite knowing they cause extinctions, despite knowing they cannot be controlled. Yes. Why? Elena smiled. Because we love them. The statement hung in the air like a physical object. Love? Zultak's translator struggled with the concept. This is emotional attachment. Deep emotional attachment, Elena confirmed. We mourn when they die. We spend billions on their health care. We create art about them. We structure our daily routines around their needs. Some humans consider their cats to be family members, equal to their offspring. This is madness, Vexithara breathed. This is humanity, Elena replied. We coexist with apex predators because we decided it was worth it. Because something about them speaks to us. The independence, the grace, the way they choose to stay with us even though they don't need us. Whiskers had stopped grooming. She was staring at the Gordani commander, unblinking, calculating. She doesn't need you, Zultak asked. Feral cats survive just fine without human support, Elena said. They hunt, they scavenge, they adapt, but housecats stay. They bond, they purr, they bring us dead things as gifts. Why? Elena met his gaze. We don't know. 10,000 years of coexistence, and we still don't understand them completely. They're aliens in our homes. Beautiful, deadly aliens that we invited in and never asked to leave. But you're not apex predators. The statement came from Ambassador Yill. The Centauri delegates' bioluminescence had shifted to deep purple, analytical mode. Humans, Yill continued, are tool users, endurance hunters, persistence predators. Your evolutionary advantage is intelligence and stamina, not raw predation. So why choose this creature to represent you? Elena had been waiting for this question. You're absolutely right, she said. Humans aren't apex predators in the traditional sense. We're not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most efficient killers on Earth. She paused. We're something much stranger. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed human history, ancient cave paintings, early settlements, the dawn of agriculture. 12,000 years ago, humans made a choice. We stopped running from predators. We stopped hiding. We started controlling our environment instead of adapting to it. Images of domesticated animals appeared, wolves becoming dogs, wild cattle becoming livestock, horses, pigs, chickens. We took apex predators and made them work for us. Wolves became hunting partners. We took prey animals and made them resources. We changed the rules of evolution itself. Vexithara's scales shifted color. This is known. Many species practice animal husbandry. But nobody does it like humans, Elena counted. We domesticated 72 species. 72. Most species manage 5 or 6. We looked at Earth's ecosystem and said, this works for us, this doesn't, let's change it. The hologram showed modern Earth. Cities covering continents, agriculture spanning hemispheres, biodomes at the poles. We changed our homeworld so completely that wild ecosystems only exist where we allow them. National parks, preserves, protected zones. Nature exists at our discretion. Zultak rumbled uneasily. This is conquest, domination. This is survival, Elena replied. Every species here survived their apex predator by becoming stronger, faster, smarter. Humans survived by changing the game entirely. We didn't beat Earth's predators, we made them irrelevant. Then why the cat? Yil pressed. If humans are so dominant, why present a creature you claim to coexist with as equals? Elena looked at Whiskers. The cat was watching a holographic display shimmer. Her pupils had dilated to black pools. Her tail twitched in minute increments. Because, Elena said softly, cats are the only species on Earth that domesticated themselves. The delegates leaned forward. Cats approached humans. We didn't seek them out. Roughly 10,000 years ago, cats figured out that human settlements attracted rodents. Rodents attracted cats. We didn't tame them. We didn't breed them for specific traits. They chose to live alongside us because it was advantageous. She pulled up genetic data. Modern house cats are 96% genetically identical to their wild ancestors. Dogs diverged from wolves by 30%. Horses by 40%, but cats barely changed. They didn't need to. They were already perfect predators. So they're using you, Vexithara said. Parasitism. Symbiosis, Elena corrected. They hunt our pests. We provide shelter. They offer companionship. We offer safety. It's the only domestication relationship where both species chose participation. Whiskers yawned again. This time, everyone noticed the teeth. Humans aren't Earth's apex predator, Elena concluded. We're the species that made apex predators obsolete, except for the one that made itself useful enough to survive our expansion. That's what you want us to understand? Zultak asked. Elena smiled grimly. Not quite. We brought Whiskers to show you something specific. Elena's tone had changed, more serious now, more dangerous. Every species here survived by overcoming their apex predator. You built defenses, developed weapons, created societies strong enough to push back against the things that hunted you. The delegates nodded. Humans did something different. We looked at predators and said, what if they worked for us instead of against us? She gestured to Whiskers. This cat lives in my home, sleeps on my bed, eats food I provide. And if I fell unconscious right now, if I died, she would wait approximately 3 days before eating me. The chamber went very still. We know this, Elena continued. We've documented it. Housecats are opportunistic feeders. They'll consume deceased owners, usually starting with the soft tissues of the face. Vexithara's translator made a choking sound. But here's what makes it perfect. We know this, and we still love them. We still invite them into our homes. We still trust them around our offspring, because the relationship isn't based on trust. It's based on mutual benefit and acceptance of what each species is. Elena walked to the platform. Whiskers looked up at her, yellow eyes meeting human brown. Humans don't survive by being the strongest predator. We survive by understanding predators well enough to predict them, to use them, to make them part of our world on our terms. She reached down. Whiskers rubbed against her hand, purring. The galaxy is full of apex predators. Species evolved in competition with the most dangerous hunters on their worlds. You're all strong, fast, deadly. You won your evolutionary arms race. Elena's expression hardened. But you're also predictable. You evolved for specific environments, specific prey, specific conditions. You're optimized, specialized. She picked up Whiskers. The cat draped across her arms, completely relaxed. Humans evolved on a nightmare world where everything was trying to kill us. Predators on land, predators in water, predators in the air, parasites, diseases, weather patterns that could kill in hours. We didn't specialize. We generalized. We adapted. We learned to survive by being unpredictable. Whiskers' tail flicked. Once, twice. And we learned that the most dangerous predator isn't the one with the biggest teeth. It's the one that doesn't see you as a threat until it's too late. Something changed in the room. A subtle shift in atmosphere. The Gordani commander started to stand. Whiskers' head turned. Fast, impossibly fast. Her pupils contracted to slits. Every muscle in her small body tensed. And for just a moment, just a fraction of a second, every species in that chamber saw it. The predator, the hunter, the apex killer refined by millions of years of evolution, compressed into 8 pounds of fur and muscle and razor-sharp weapons. Whiskers hissed. The sound was primal, ancient. It activated fear responses in species that had never encountered a feline in their evolution. Zultak sat back down. Slowly. "Good gods," he whispered. Elena set Whiskers back on the platform. The cat immediately went back to grooming. "Still think we brought a pet?" Elena asked. Nobody answered. The silence stretched. Vexithara was the first to speak. "The parasite, toxoplasma. You said it changes human behavior." "Possibly," Elena confirmed. "Show us the behavioral profile." Elena pulled up the data. Infected individuals show reduced fear response, increased reaction time in some tests, decreased reaction time in others, higher rates of entrepreneurship, higher rates of risk-taking behavior. The Kralix ambassador studied the information carefully. This parasite evolved to help cats hunt rodents, but it also infects humans, and it makes humans more bold. Some studies suggest that. The data isn't conclusive, but it's possible. It's possible. Vexithara's scales rippled through several color patterns. "Let me propose a hypothesis. Humans evolved alongside numerous predators. You developed persistence hunting, tool use, social cooperation, all survival adaptations." Elena nodded. "Then, 10,000 years ago, you encountered a predator that didn't try to kill you. Instead, it moved into your settlements, it hunted your pests, it tolerated your presence, and through a parasite, it possibly influenced your behavior to make you more accepting of its presence." "That's the theory some researchers propose," Elena said carefully. "And in exchange," Vexithara continued, "this predator received protection. Food, shelter, global distribution. It went from a regional species to the most widespread predator on your planet. Not by fighting, not by adapting, but by making humans want to help it spread." The implications settled over the chamber like fog. "That's..." Yill's bioluminescence flickered uncertainly. "That's the most elegant predation strategy I've ever encountered." Zultak rumbled agreement. "The Gordani spent millennia fighting spine wolves. We lost millions. We built walls, forged weapons. We earned our survival through blood." He looked at Whiskers. "This creature convinced you to help it thrive." "We're not puppets," Elena said sharply. "The parasite doesn't control us. We made conscious choices to keep cats. We valued them. The relationship is real." "Is it?" Vexithara asked quietly. "How would you know? If the behavioral changes are subtle enough, If they simply make you more likely to view cats positively, how would you detect the influence? Elena had no answer for that. This is why you brought it, Zultak said suddenly. Not to show us your apex predator, to show us your vulnerability, to demonstrate that humanity understands coexistence with species that might be influencing you. Partially, Elena admitted, but also to make a point about the galaxy. She gestured around the chamber. Every species here won their fight for survival. You're all proud of it. You display your apex predators as badges of honor, the beasts you overcame. And humans? Humans learned to live with ours. We didn't overcome cats. We incorporated them. And yes, maybe that makes us vulnerable. Maybe there's a parasite influencing human behavior at the margins. Maybe we've been domesticated as much as they have. Elena's expression was unreadable. But it also means we're very, very good at coexisting with species that might be dangerous. Species that might have their own agendas. Species that might not think like us. She let that hang in the air. Earth is a nightmare world. We survived by being adaptable, by forming partnerships, by accepting influence if it helped us thrive. Whiskers chose that moment to hop down from the platform. She walked directly to the Gordani commander, rubbed against his armored leg, purred. Zultak looked down at her, this tiny, deadly thing, and despite himself, he felt his combat instincts relax. By the void, he muttered. It's doing it right now. The Apex Convergence concluded 3 hours later. The delegates filed out slowly, quietly. All of them were thinking. Vexithara paused at the exit. Dr. Rodriguez, a question. Of course. If you could eliminate the cats from Earth, remove the parasite, would you? Elena considered this carefully. Some people would say yes. Ecologically, it might be better. 63 extinct species is a heavy price. But you wouldn't? I didn't say that. Elena looked at Whiskers, who was sleeping in her transport carrier. I said some people would. Others would refuse. The debate has existed for decades. We still haven't resolved it. Because you can't agree. Because, Elena said slowly, the question itself is complicated. Are cats part of Earth's ecology now? After 10,000 years, do they have a right to exist there? Did they invade or were they invited? And if we eliminate them, what does that say about humanity's relationship with other species? Vexithara's scales shifted to a thoughtful green. You're using this as a framework for galactic interaction. Earth joined the galaxy 3 months ago. We're the newcomers, the unknowns. Everyone wants to understand us. What makes us tick? What makes us dangerous? What makes us reliable? Elena gestured to the chamber. You all evolved by conquering your apex predators. You proved you were strong enough to survive. But humanity? We proved we're adaptable enough to survive. We can live with predators. We can form partnerships with species that might influence us. We can accept complexity. And this makes you suitable for galactic civilization? This makes us prepared for it, Elena corrected. The galaxy is full of species with different values, different biologies, different thought processes. Some of them might be dangerous. Some might have hidden agendas. Some might affect us in ways we don't fully understand. She picked up Whiskers' carrier. But we've been doing this for 10,000 years, living with something beautiful and deadly that we don't fully control. And we've survived, thrived even. Vexithara was quiet for a long moment. The Kraliks have a saying, trust the warrior who knows their scars. You came here and showed us your scars. The parasite, the extinctions, the fact that you might be influenced by a species you claim to love. Everyone has scars, Elena replied. The question is whether you hide them or learn from them. And humanity has learned. Elena smiled. We're still learning, but yes, we've learned that survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most adaptable, the most willing to form unlikely partnerships, the most accepting of complexity. Whiskers woke up. She made a small chirping sound. Elena opened the carrier door. The cat stepped out, stretched, and rubbed against the Kralix ambassador's leg. Vexithara looked down. Despite herself, she felt her defensive posture relax. "It's subtle," she murmured. "Everything important is," Elena agreed. The two women walked out of the chamber together. Behind them, Whiskers paused in the doorway. She looked back at the empty hall, yellow eyes gleaming. Then she turned and followed the humans, as she'd done for 10,000 years, as she'd do for 10,000 more. If you enjoyed this story about humanity's unusual relationship with Earth's apex predators, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got more HFY stories exploring what makes humanity unique in the galaxy. Drop a comment below. Do you think cats domesticated us, or did we domesticate them? Have you ever felt like your pet was training you instead of the other way around? And if you want to see more stories about humanity's partnerships with unlikely species, check out our video about the time humans brought dogs to a galactic military summit. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. Remember, in the vastness of space, humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to make friends with things that could kill us. See you in the next one.